Hello, all, and welcome back to The Easy Nerd. I'm The Easy Nerd, and with the Superman reboot coming out this week, I thought I'd share my thoughts, both positive and negative, on the film and the DCU reboot as a whole. Again, this voice is aided by AI. First, I'd like to disclose that I'm a fan of the old DCEU and the majority of its movies, particularly Zack Snyder's work. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Ultimate Edition, and Zack Snyder's Justice League are some of my favorite DC movies of all time. I enjoy DC films more when they're serious and epic in scale. That's just my personal preference. Now, onto the reboot itself. Was it necessary? Personally, I don't think so. I felt that the DCEU's main heroes, like Henry Cavill's Superman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, were great in their roles. They looked the part and delivered strong performances in iconic ways. I think Warner Brothers really dropped the ball by not utilizing these actors and characters more in later films. They had the star power and the audience goodwill to do a lot more. There were also some very talented directors involved. Zack Snyder, David Ayer, James Wan, and James Gunn, who for the most part made great films. Unfortunately, studio interference during post-production butchered some of those movies and affected their quality. The overall plan for the DCEU, based on storyboards, would have concluded in Justice League 3, with the League battling Darkseid and the Legion of Doom, ultimately preventing the nightmare future teased throughout Snyder's films. It sounded epic, a comic fan's dream. The pieces were all there for a cinematic universe that could rival Marvel's MCU. But the studio's mismanagement, meddling, and lack of commitment derailed those plans. Would a soft reboot have been a better idea? I think so. They could have erased some continuity and mistakes while keeping the same actors and directors and adding strong creative leadership to steer things in a better direction. That way, you preserve the fan base and rebrand the DC universe without starting from scratch. I remember the excitement when Henry Cavill was announced to return in Black Adam. But instead, James Gunn and Peter Safran have opted for a hard reboot, recasting most roles except for characters from the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, which feels like Gunn is playing favorites. It comes off a bit narcissistic, especially with Gunn being more visible in the marketing than the actual actors. Now, let's talk about the new DCU slate. It's changed a lot over the last 2 years and gives me serious DCEU flashbacks, announcing tons of projects without scripts, directors, or production dates. That's a red flag for me. It feels like a cynical move to boost Warner Brothers' value and generate hype for projects that might not even happen. The slate is a mixed bag. A Superman reboot, a Batman movie, and a Lantern series are all logical choices to establish a strong foundation. But other projects like The Authority, which most non-fans haven't heard of, and Swamp Thing seem too early and disconnected. It would be like the MCU starting with Eternals or Werewolf by Night instead of Iron Man and Captain America. It just doesn't feel well thought out. And now we're hearing about Clayface and Sergeant Rock movies going into production, yet we still don't have a Batman or Wonder Woman cast or film in the pipeline. That just adds to the confusion. Now on to James Gunn's Superman reboot. James Gunn is a talented filmmaker and writer. He's great at turning obscure anti-hero characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad into mainstream hits. My only issue is that his movies lean a bit too much into comedy, which can undercut the story's emotional weight. His only misses for me have been the Guardians Holiday Special and Creature Commandos, but since one's a holiday short and the other is animated, they didn't carry major consequences for their respective universes. So, do I think he's a good fit to write and direct a Superman movie? Personally, no. I fear we'll get a Guardians-style Superman, too comedic and over the top for a character that's supposed to carry the weight of rebooting a whole cinematic universe and re-establishing Superman for a new generation. Looking at the trailers and promotional clips, my fears might be valid. The tone feels very Guardians of the Galaxy, and some of the humor feels very Gunn. The supporting characters, the Justice Gang, feel oddly placed and a bit gimmicky. David Corenswet is a great casting choice, but I feel like his look is a bit too boyish. He doesn't have the more mature presence that Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill had. I'm also mixed on the suit. The colors are nice, but the design and the flat S symbol don't quite flatter his physique. He also, in the trailers, seems to be beaten down quite a bit, which isn't a good look. As for the Justice Gang, Green Lantern looks too goofy. They should have stuck with Guy Gardner's short hair, comic look. Hawkgirl feels underwhelming, but Mr. Terrific actually looks solid. Things I do like about the movie. The cast is strong overall. Rachel Brosnahan looks perfect as Lois Lane. The Daily Planet staff look great. Nicholas Hoult looks decent as Lex Luthor. Nathan Fillion is a solid pick, even if his look is off. Crypto, the CGI Superdog, looks awesome. Great for marketing and merch. The action looks fun. And the tone, while light, still seems heartfelt. So while I doubt it'll reach the heights of Man of Steel or the Superman and Lois TV series, I think it could still be an entertaining movie. One I'd enjoy watching and rewatching. In conclusion, despite all my issues with Warner Brothers as a studio, I genuinely hope Superman and the reboot succeed, for the sake of the DC Universe and the superhero genre as a whole. If the DCU thrives, we might eventually get my dream ending to the DCEU, with the original actors returning in a multiverse crossover, like what Marvel is doing. That said, based on what I've seen so far, I worry that the reboot feels like a step down. The DC brand is already damaged, the audience is fatigued, and only high-quality standout superhero movies such as Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Deadpool and Wolverine are doing big numbers at the box office. I really hope I'm wrong, and that this movie and what follows smash expectations. Thanks for tuning in. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.